Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, you may know this particular machine, the super exotic, super rare EV supercar known as the Rimac Concept 1. Well, the Rimac Group has got a big, bright future ahead of us, albeit they've only built 8 cars for the world so far. But the future is bright because a big influx of money, in fact $36 million, has been infused into this manufacturer from the Camel Group out of Shanghai. Now, the Camel Group is one of the largest EV battery makers on the planet, and of course Rimac is one of the great upstart manufacturers of EV automobiles out there. Now, the trick is Rimac has already been designing the next generation machine. I don't think it's going to be this all-out supercar, but it will be something more for the masses. But it got me thinking when I saw this announcement. Of course, you can't think of the Rimac Concept 1 without thinking about this hulking mess. This is the remnants of the wadded up, burnt to the ground version that was last driven by Grand Tour presenter Richard Hammond. Remember when Richard Hammond speared one of these off a hill climb competition in Switzerland? The car barreled down a hill and burnt to the ground. Sadly, only 7 Rimac Concept 1s. The bigger sad part about it is this particular one that Richard Hammond wrote off was actually already owned by somebody. Yeah, that must have been a tough phone call for them to make. But would the Camel Group have ever invested inside of Rimac if it weren't for this situation? Albeit these two companies had to know each other. You got an upstart EV manufacturer and a big-time EV battery maker. So I think they probably already knew their existence, but you know, all the press that the Rimac Group got because of the Richard Hammond's crash may be the exact reason for that big influx of cash. Next up on the list, well, let's stick with the Grand Tour a little bit. Something that I kind of predicted, even though, just like something I talked about in one of the last episodes about me predicting something, I didn't know anything. It was just basically a lucky guess. And apparently there's a lot of outlets out there that are reporting that the Grand Tour is going to look quite a bit different for Season 2. As we're rapidly approaching the second season of this, there has been some reports that this show could come out in October, but it may come out a little bit later than that. One of the big changes for Season 2 is the tent is apparently going to be gone. Yes, they aren't going to travel all over the planet to do the in-studio features for Season 2 of the Grand Tour. And it's actually going to take place inside of a studio that's been built on the grounds where the racing track is. You know, the track that they've done lap records with, the American. This particular facility will be the base of operations for Season 2 of the Grand Tours. They're actually going to use the bulk of the funds that they have to actually do the big traveling segments. So, big change for this deal, but I think it's actually a change for the better, because sometimes that whole tent studio thing really didn't work out too good, especially a lot of jokes that really didn't seem to hit the mark. But I cannot wait for Season 2 of the Grand Tour. Next up on the list, we talked about the Porsche 911 GT2 RS, and there was a possibility that this thing was or could become the new ringmaster, if you will, around the Nordschleife loop. Well, apparently that has happened. Yes, in the past several days, in fact September 20th, this vehicle set a lap record around the Nordschleife loop that is hugely impressive. The record now is 6 minutes and 47.03 seconds. Now, the trick is why I kind of call this the record. You know, there's a handful of cars that a lot of outlets call that are faster than this. There's an all-electric automobile that I think they only built like 1 or 2 of, or maybe barely a handful, and a McLaren LM car, which is technically road legal, but it's the closest thing to a race car. And then you got some of those radicals, which are basically weekend warrior racer machines. This thing is a full-blown street car with a lot of the parts and pieces that you can basically drive this thing every day and not really even think that you're actually driving something that's very close to a race car. One of the most impressive things to me is this thing beat the Lamborghini Performante by 5 seconds and bested the king of the Porsche supercars, that being the 918 Spyder. Wow! how the progression of technology has moved forward in just a handful of years since the 918 came out to now have a 911 actually be one of the quickest cars and one of the rare cars that has gone under a sub 7-minute lap around the Nordschleife. So big congratulations to Porsche. You got a hell of a target on your back because there's a lot of folks that are shooting for you. Next up on the list, remember when we teased that the Dyson folks, yes, the vacuum cleaner people, might be building a car. Well, apparently this is 100% true. In fact, by 2020, they will launch their all-new EV automobile, which they're saying is really going to be groundbreaking. Now, here's the trick. I kind of made fun of this when we first talked about this, because you know what? We've seen a lot of organizations that have actually come out and said they're going to build a car, that being Apple and Google, and those folks have way more money than this Dyson group does, and they both backed out fairly quickly. But the thing is, when you really think about the Dyson thing, it's really a lot easier for them to make an EV, because you think that all their products run on electricity, all their products have electric motors, so you just scale these up a lot larger. In fact, they've already bought into some battery technology from a big name battery maker that they're going to use into their automobiles. So the real trick is what's the car going to look like? How bad's it going to suck? I know, that's a stupid joke. Or is it going to have that big orange ball in the back of it? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Dyson may have up their sleeve. And we've only got a couple of years before this vehicle could be getting close to hitting dealer showrooms. So we'll definitely keep you in tune. Next up on the list, let's go to Saudi Arabia, because something in Saudi Arabia is happening for the first time ever, and it's women driving. Yes, it is illegal in Saudi Arabia as we speak for women to drive, but coming up as soon as June of 2018, that will change, and all ladies all across Saudi Arabia will be able to drive anywhere they please. Now, the thing I thought about at least first is you've probably seen a lot of these Saudi Arabian videos of these daredevil guys who are out there wandering around bicycling or getting up on two wheels. Some of the most impressive two-wheel driving that I've ever seen, especially on public roads. Maybe Saudi Arabia is going to let women drive, because will women ever do this type of deal? Because you know how these things get started. Somebody bet somebody else, hey, I bet you can't drive on two wheels in your SUV. Yeah. Interesting deal. It's a pretty cool deal to see the ladies actually get a shot at the drive behind the wheel in Saudi Arabia. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. Links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.